The Pewtercast is sponsored by HuntAKiller.com, an immersive murder mystery experience like no other. You can save 20% on your first box when you subscribe by using the code Pewtercast at checkout. And we'd like to thank HuntAKiller.com for their support of the show. Welcome to the Pewtercast. My name is Brent Allen, and I'm your host. And joining me, as always, my good friend Ren Daxt. Ren, how you feeling tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I'm ready for some football. I feel like it's a little shocked it's already Friday, but
yeah,
you know, I'm ready to get into it. And this is going to be a big game, big game coming up. You know, first place for the NFC South. The division is wide open. You know, it's like, I don't have this feeling of maybe, you know, like maybe if we beat the Saints. I got more of like when we beat the Saints. And even if we lose, I still feel it's just like the season's not, there's so much trust in this coaching staff and the strides they've made with all the question marks. I'm rambling, but all the question marks we had, like most of them are wiping off the board. We only got like one or two left. So it's good to be a Bucs fan.
All right. So on behalf of all of our listeners and quite honestly myself as well, you're pretty confident that we're going to come out of this one with a win. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Oh yeah.
So
and it shouldn't be close.
So
it will be, but it shouldn't be.
So when we do, all right, because we'll put it like that. When we do, and we get to the instant cast on Sunday night, are you going to be excited? Are we going to be having a good time?
Hey, you just calm down. I've said my piece, and by the way, everyone else has come out and said it too.
Yeah.
Okay, I said it first. I said it loud. Whatever.
And a lot.
You know, and a lot. And I kept repeating myself. Is that a new shirt you have on? The secondary
exactly
doesn't have shirts on. That's the problem. Like Howard Wolowitz when he came back from the moon.
Right.
From outer space.
You just made a Big Bang Theory reference.
So yes, I'll be happy because like I've got a lot of my system. Everyone knows now that I'm worried about the middle of the field, even though I've been talking about it since the Panthers game. And if it continues to happen, I'm not going to get upset about it. I've said my piece.
All right. Well, there you go. So you folks have heard it here first. The Buccaneers are going to win this game. We'll see you guys for the instant cast. Until then, guys, go. Oh wait, we still got a show to do, don't we, Ren?
We do.
Hey, this is our Buc in the News show. This is the show where we finally get a chance to take a look at all the transactions, all the headlines, all the news, basically, that has surrounded our beloved Buccaneers over the course of the week. All the practices are done at this point. Injury reports are out. The only thing that's left to do is just to play the game. So this is a great time to bring it all together under one show and talk about it. We're going to do this. We break it up typically into a few different parts. If you're joining us for the first time on our Buc in the News show, we're going to take a look at the roster transactions and see what's going on with our team specifically this week. We'll also take a look at some of the headlines that have been coming out across all the various news outlets concerning our beloved Buccaneers. And we'll specifically be looking at this in light of the Saints game coming up this weekend. We'll take a look at the final injury report, and we'll take a look and see who's actually going to be suiting up by making our predictions for the inactives. Ren, do you have an updated total of where we are on our score? Because I've never intended to keep score on that.
I do not.
You don't? Yeah, I don't. I
don't know. I have to go back and look last week. It won't be hard to find.
Yeah.
But when I saw Dot, wasn't inactive, I'm like, oh, that just blew my whole.
Right. But then I said Damone Harris wouldn't be, and he was. So we were, for folks out there, we were tied going into last week's game. So, but anyway, yes. it's the once again, it's the predictions that you and I are the only two who give a crap about. So we'll have that, but we'll be really looking towards this Saints game. So Ren, let's go over and see what is going on with the roster. There was actually only one thing that happened in regards to the roster this week. It's the exact same one that we had last week, except Ryan Smith is back. He is off of his NFL suspension, but he's back on a 1 week roster exemption, which ends or which his suspension ended last week. But what that means is the Bucs are carrying 54 players instead of 53. I think after this game, they have to cut somebody to go back down. So do you know how that
Monday.
They have until Monday?
Yeah, how it works is, and I think I've learned 2 rules this year so far, 2 new rules. One was like the super secret probation practice squad guy.
Right.
Where it's like, you're not eligible, but since you're not really good, you are eligible. I don't know how it works.
Right.
But
the 4 of you right there.
You got 4 slots in the practice squad of the 10 that you can have these guys that are, not eligible but are still eligible. And this one, I like this rule. What it is when someone's been suspended, it's kind of like with JPP and Justin Evans. Like, they can start practicing week 6, but they can't be activated till week 8.
And they don't count against the roster until week 8.
And they don't count against the roster until week 8.
Right.
Okay. So you give those 2 weeks to come back from injury or whatever it is to sort of judge how they are in football shape. And we've seen this with Kendall Beckwith. Last year he came back and it was pretty evident right away. It's like, that's not gonna happen. And it sounds like, he's sort of retired from football. So now we have Ryan Smith, who's been suspended. So he comes back so you can apply for it from the NFL. And I don't know what the rules are, or if it's really just a formality that you always get it. Is you get an extra week. So you get we'll have Monday after the Saints game. So almost like 7 days. Like you walk in Monday after the Rams game, and if you apply, the Bucs can keep you with the team. You're not officially on the roster, but keep you with the team, and they have to decide either to put you on the roster or do something else with you. And that's because these guys have been out of football. Ryan Smith hasn't practiced, played anything for 4 weeks. So he comes back and maybe has to get up to speed, or maybe the injury he had is, it's not where it was, like Kendall Beckwith. So right away, if he comes on, then the Bucs have to get rid of somebody. But what if that person has to go through waivers and somebody claims him?
Right.
And now you've missed it on this person, and the guy you brought back is turned into a Kendall Beckwith. Like Ryan Smith all of a sudden put on 20 pounds.
Right.
And
or he's just not ready to play.
Going to be ready for, in the Saints game. So it gives you this window to get him ramped up. I think, like a lot of other people, were sort of expecting sometime this week for him to be put on.
Right.
But it looks like they could still do it tomorrow, which would be Saturday, or today if you're listening to it, the Saturday before the Saints game. But
can they do it the day
they're
of
not
the
going to
Saints
make
game?
a move until Monday.
Can they do it the day of the Saints game?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
But why would you? Because after Friday, you're done with everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. If it was Bruce Arians, doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who does a lot of this kind of stuff. But, Cutter would be like, I'm not going to do it until the very last possible moment to throw off the other team so they don't know what's, that seems silly to me at this point.
Competitive edge, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, by giving you a Saturday, a whole 12-hour more notice. So let me ask you this. Do you know, let's say they so he's not actually on the active roster right now, which means so they don't have to release anybody from the active roster, but he can't play unless they release somebody from the active roster. Is that right? Like, he's not actually active right now.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. As of right now, he cannot play Sunday.
Okay. All right. So in order for that to happen, they do have to make that roster move, which they have not. So,
yes.
All right. So that's it. So probably not Ryan Smith. I should take him off of my inactive report then. But we'll get down there later.
Darn it.
Dang. He was one of my 7. All right. So that's really it, Ren. I mean, after that, really, the roster still looks very much the same as it looked going into week 4. And honestly, here we are 5 weeks into this, Ren. And to be quite frank with you, the team right now still looks very much like the team that we saw going into week 1. Like, most of the transactions have all been practice squad or IR or things like that. Like, there's not been a lot of churning of those bottom, 10 slots or so, as we typically would see by this point in the year.
Yeah, well, BA warned people, he warned everybody on the offensive line, like, don't get comfy.
Yeah.
And that's the only spot where they've had turnovers. They brought in Hawkins and Wells, and that's it.
Right. And they're there. And we still have Zach Bailey, who, is hanging out. And then obviously Earl Watford, who they brought in as a free agent this year. Like, that group has kind of been, once they got their guys, like, that's sort of just been what it is. But that's not to say more won't happen as the year goes on. It just, they really haven't been.
Injuries are going to happen.
Sure. All right. Well, let's move on then. Let's move on to some of the headlines that we get over the course of this week. These are coming at you in really no particular order, pretty much as I scoured the internet and found them. They're not necessarily in chronological order or anything. All right, Donovan Smith. Let's talk about him. He is getting fined for his hit on Marcus Peters, $28,075. Went helmet to helmet with Marcus Peters, gave him a concussion, actually, as it were, during the game here in the Rams game. I don't know if you care, Ren. This doesn't strike me as actually. I think a lot of our headlines, you're like, yeah, okay, cool. I feel like we'll probably be a lot of the conversation.
That's kind of how the show's gonna go.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy did this. Yes, he did. No, like first off, I don't think Marcus Peters has a concussion. He's just trying to come up with an excuse why Mike Evans toasted him.
Okay.
That's what he's doing. He's pulling like the Darrelle Revis. Like Darrelle Revis walking around town, I can cover anybody, and then he plays Randy Moss, and the Patriots go down and score a touchdown, and Revis, of course, pulls a hammy on the touchdown catch and walks straight into the tunnel. Like didn't even go to the bench. Like well.
I gotta go, guys. I'm out. Yeah.
I'll be back next week, but right now, I tore my hammy. You're lucky because I had you on that. No, I'm kidding. He probably doesn't have a concussion. I don't know. Like it was he did kill that guy.
He did. I mean, that was a hit and a half.
Yeah, but it was just all inertia and weight. The weight ratio and inertia is what it was. I've never really seen a replay of it where I saw a helmet to helmet. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not, this isn't like a phantom holding call or anything. It's just that I never saw it. And I thought that I guess there was a story going around where usually the fines are passed out on Wednesdays. And someone overheard Donovan in the locker room, sort of running around and telling everybody, because you come in Wednesday, there might be a little ticket hanging up in your locker.
Right.
Hey,
or the letter or something.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't have one. So he was all excited.
Right.
He was running around telling everybody. And then all of a sudden, Thursday or whatever, Friday pops up and,
oh, sorry. This got lost between the seats.
Yeah. This fell between the seats. I just found this.
Sorry.
Here's a bill for $28,000.
Right. Dang it. Yeah. I mean, okay, so we didn't really talk about this at all over the course of this week. A lot of people taking a look at this. The offensive line has been praised up and down for their performance in this game against the Rams that we just had. Which is unusual to hear in Tampa Bay, because usually we were talking about how bad our offensive line has been. And this is, let's face it, mostly the same cast of characters that we had last year, with the exception of Alex Kappa, who was there, just not in the starting role. But with this Harold Goodwin and what he's doing as the new run game coordinator / offensive line coach / assistant head coach, the offensive line has been
Don't
getting
hear
a lot
any
of praise.
talk about Joe Gilbert and Indianapolis Colts days ruined Andrew Luck's career. Don't hear that talk anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So here's something that should scare Bucs fans.
Yeah, right. So that's that being said, a lot of people have been taking this hit from Donovan Smith as if you want to boil down the new offensive line attitude, right? Or how well the offensive line is doing, they're holding this clip, this hit from Donovan Smith up as the look at their new attitude, right? Oh, I love the aggressiveness. I love the play. I don't know that this would be the one I'd want to hit, but but that being
said, or they just got Donovan Smith to run?
Well, that's it. I mean, Donovan Smith has been a whipping boy for 4 years in Tampa. Now going into his 5th year here in Tampa, he has just taken it for the last bunch of years. So he's finally getting some praise, it seems like, from Bucs fans for any legal hit.
It's probably been his most consistent start to a season and maybe most consistent stretch.
Yeah.
And he seems to. And what's nice about it is he seems to be getting better.
Yeah, right. Because let's not forget, for his first 4 years, he had the same offensive line coach the entire time. Apparently liked him a whole lot.
Yeah.
He liked Coach Warhop a lot.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, he seems to be a nice guy.
Sure.
But I mean, from the San Francisco game to the Rams game, you can almost you can sort of chart his progression, at least statistically, if you're giving up sacks and penalties and all those things that sort of make offensive linemen pop the fans. So yeah, I don't see a lot those tweets anymore about the wasted money on a middling to terrible left tackle. So it's it's just fun. It's fun to be a Bucs fan. Like, on the offensive side of the ball, everything's rolling. On the defense side of the ball, 2/3 of it's rolling. Like we were worried about the offensive line. Now they're good. Rojo's good. James good.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about those. One more question about the offensive line before we move on to those, specifically as it relates to the Saints game coming up. We know that the Rams was supposed to be with Aaron Donald, plus they had a bunch of other guys that were first-round draft picks. And the offensive line held up really well against them.
Yeah.
Remind me, because I'm a fan of the Buccaneers. I don't follow other teams. The defensive line for the Saints, is this supposed to be a big test for our offensive line, or like where would they rank in this?
Well, I think they also have 4 first-round picks, or at least 3.
Yeah.
On there. I mean, Rankins, they drafted him when we drafted VH3. What is it? Cam Jordan, I believe. There's a couple of guys I get mixed up. There's a guy in Miami I get mixed up with him. But the guy that tweeted out when oddly enough, when Donovan got his extension, he like quote tweeted. He's like, "Oh, good, I'll be eating for like the next 5 years or something."
Right.
Yeah. So he's there, and then they spent basically 2 number 1 picks on Davenport this year or last year, and then they got Trey Hendrickson, who was went to one of these small Florida schools, and he was actually is leading the team in sacks. So, you watch what they did by just giving the Dallas Cowboys fits. An offensive line has been considered one of the best, if not the best, for quite a while now in the NFL. Yeah. So this is going to be another big test. But with the Buccaneers having faced these guys so many times, especially the Rankins and those types, not necessarily Davenport and Hendricks so much, but it turns out Hendricks is out. Spoiler alert. So that's good. But I think the familiarity and, all the times that we play the Saints, I never feel, even though it doesn't matter if we win or lose the game, but I don't feel like their pressure was something that tipped the tide either way.
Right. That's I was trying to think of previous Saints games, and I'll be honest, I know we've only played the Panthers as the only divisional game so far this year. I feel like we've already played the Saints this year for some reason, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just doing this podcast for so long, all the years are starting to run together. I don't know what it is, but I was trying to think of trying to remember what my impression of the defensive line for the Saints has been, and it's never been something that I've ever been too concerned about or that I've ever been wowed by. So, and as you mentioned, spoiler alert, Trey Hendrickson is out. So if he's their sack leader, that's not necessarily a bad thing concerning the Bucs. But hey, let's move on to some of those other guys you just talked about a second ago. Ronald Jones has been the top-rated running back by Pro Football Focus for this week, I guess, or at least so far this year.
So far this year.
So yay for Rojo.
Yeah, it was surprising. I'm not really sure you have to get as many snaps or do different things to qualify for PFF, which kind of makes it weird. Of course, the one that Buck fans we always like to point to was how John Ross had better overall first year grade than OJ Howard, and John Ross played like 2 games. They threw 2 passes to him and he dropped 1.
Right.
And his PFF grade was better than OJ Howard, and it was like, what? And I think they came back like a week later and adjusted it or something. So, and this one's just as strange because it's like running game, PFF grade for running like 87.5, PF grade for receiving 78.5, overall grade 89.7. Now it's been a while since I've been in a statistics class, but you don't take the average of 2 numbers and it doesn't come out higher than both of them. It doesn't happen. So obviously there's other factors involved, but still, it's great to see. It's not only has Rojo sort of erased all the question marks, he's doing great, man. He's averaging like 6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And I know you've heard it, everywhere. If you listen to other podcasts, like, well, what about those? Like, what would be his average through 4 games if like just one of those 2 penalties were called back? It's just he'd be averaging somewhere like 8 yards, 8.5 yards, and it's not a small sample size.
Yeah. So all right, well we'll see what happens with Rojo. I know the kind of running thread that we have regarding the running back position this year is sort of a waiting to see when does Rojo overtake Peyton Barber as the starting running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's something that we're kind of looking to see happen mid-season sometime, somewhere before the end of the season.
I don't think it matters.
You don't?
I mean, I don't. It's well. Let's put it this way. Rojo got more carries the San Francisco game, got more carries the Giants game, got more carries the Rams game. Right. The only one he didn't get more carries is when he hurt his toe. So it seems to be sort of the MO of the way this offense is. Barber starts, and then the Rojo comes in, and then just doesn't come out because he's doing so well. So it's if he's getting 60% of the carries and he doesn't quote unquote start the game, who cares? It like everyone, when you look at those type of things, you want to see who's getting the ball.
All right,
and I think Rojo is. So I don't care if he starts or doesn't start.
Sure. All right, let's hand out a couple of awards, Ryan. What do you say?
Okay.
Jameis Winston wins the NFC Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week, and the FedEx Air Player of the Week. Both awards going to Jameis Winston this week for his performance against the LA Rams.
Plus, he opened up his Dream Forever, second
He
Dream
did,
Forever
yeah.
room.
Yeah, his the second Dream Room. That's right.
Did you see that humongous picture of himself on the wall?
I saw that. I don't think he personally painted it.
He was wearing his away white.
I saw you point that out, and I thought that was very interesting. Yeah. But I think it's because I was looking at it from an artistic standpoint. I think it's because it contrasted the background color that they had.
Yeah, the background was red.
Yeah, so it made it pop out just because it contrasted that. So, although I would have preferred him be in the pewter pants. Like, I'm okay with the white tops. I just never want to see white pants on our Buccaneers for any reason whatsoever.
I don't understand that.
I don't. I like white tops and pewter pants, red tops, pewter pants, red tops, red pants. That's fine, but I don't want to see white pants. I'm over it. I don't mind the white tops. It's just I'm only half on this stupid train about this one. I don't want to see it at home. Damn it!
No white pants.
All right.
Yeah, I don't get it, but that's cool.
All right, so that's Jameis Winston. So yeah, congratulations to Jameis.
Yes. Congratulations to Jameis, giving us some ammo for the people that say that he's never any good, will never be a franchise quarterback, needs to be cut, team will never go anywhere without him. Bruce Arians is wasting his time, all that kind of stuff. He's giving us the ammo. What kind of game do you expect out of Jameis? Do you expect a Panthers game, a Giants game, or a Rams game? Because I don't think he's going to have another San Francisco game.
I don't think he's going to have another San Francisco game.
I don't think he'll have one all year.
Yeah, I am leaning more towards a Rams type performance, and by that I don't necessarily mean throwing 4 touchdowns. I do think he probably throws at least 3, maybe 4. I don't know. Maybe.
He won't throw 4 touchdowns. I mean, he'll get 3, but not 4.
No, I do think he'll throw for 3. Because I think this will also be a high-scoring game. I really do. I think it'll at least be in the 30s. Yeah. I don't know. The Saints haven't had high-scoring games this year.
They can't score. Bridgewater can't score. They beat Seattle. Fantastic. Seattle's a great team. Possible Super Bowl contender for me. They won off defense. They got 2 scores from defense and special teams. They had a scoop and score, and they had a return. I don't know if it was punt or kickoff. But I'm not sure if Bridgewater even put the ball in the end zone. Maybe once.
Right.
And the defense stuffed him. And then the Dallas game, they didn't get the ball in the end zone at all. 4 field goals won it for them. They're winning off defense. So, I mean, we're going to talk about it later. It's going to be an interesting chess match between, is Sean Payton, is Todd Bowles going to compress the defense, and tighten up that middle and those short passes that Bridgewater has been doing and sort of, get guys closer to Kamara in the run game and the swing pass and the outlets. And if Bowles does that, is Sean Payton practicing now for Bridgewater to throw it over the top?
Right.
And that's the only way I can see that the Saints are going to put up a lot of points, honestly.
Right. But let me clarify when I say high-scoring game. I think the Bucs are going to have a high-scoring game. But I don't know. I mean, to your point, though, their defense has apparently been shutting down offenses.
Good offense.
Good offenses. So, maybe we won't be. I don't know. But, I could see Jameis throwing for 2 or 3. Yeah, not our offense, dang it. How could they? But I still could see Jameis throwing for 2 or 3 touchdowns at least. I'd say 3 is I don't want to say is a floor, but I'd say 3 is probably, I wouldn't be shocked by it,
So you're looking at a Giants game.
Yeah. I guess that's about what he did in Giants game, right? Yeah.
Like the Rams game was almost a perfect game.
Right.
One throw from being probably the best game he ever will play. He could tie it, but I mean, they moved the ball at the ease. Like there wasn't a lot of bad throws. He didn't make, of course, the one, but he didn't fumble the ball. It was like great. The Giants is a very good game. 3 touchdowns in the first half. Got a little wonky in the third quarter, but drove down, put him ahead, and then when he put his feet to the fire in 2 plays, he puts us in the game-winning field goal position.
Right.
Should have won that game. The Panthers game is like, I'm not going to turn the ball over no matter what.
Right.
And our
I don't care if I score, I'm not turning the ball over. Even if I don't score, I won't turn it over.
Yeah, so that was like that. The Panthers game is like I'm managing the game. I'm not going to take a lot of shots. The first thing I'm doing is just not lose the ball. Then the Giants game is a very good game, and then the Rams game is an outstanding game.
I got to tell you,
James is going to.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you're going for a Giants game.
Yeah. I think that's going to become more of the norm that we'll see out of Jameis. I don't think we'll see a lot of. I don't think Jameis is going to have a whole lot of those kind of game manager type games, where
I think that's going to be the floor for him for the rest of the year.
Yeah. I think we'll see more out of him. What I'm really curious though, speaking of awards though, Ren, is the real award and what's going to happen with Jameis is he going to find his way back into the Pewtercast award for Offensive Player of the Year, or maybe even, overall Player of the Year for the Buccaneers? I don't know. And that's going to be voted on by fans. So we'll see where he goes. He's going to have, if he is for either one of them, he's going to have some tough competition because Chris Godwin's making a big case for himself. Mike Evans is still making a case for himself. Rojo is making a case for himself. So, and
if you're going to give away an MVP right now, it's Shaq Barrett.
Right. But there is the offensive side, right? Like we'll do an offensive and a defensive, and then the overall one, right?
But he's only got a shot at 2. But he's only really got a shot at 2.
Right.
2 beauties. One is MVP, which right now Shaq Barrett hands down.
Right.
And then, like you said, he's got a lot of competition in the running for offensive MVP.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how that whole thing is going to shake out. But of course, he's got 12 more games to play before we get to that spot. Anyway, speaking of Shaq Barrett has won the NFC Defensive Player of the Month for the month of September.
Yes.
Which is kind of like duh to me. I don't know if it was duh to the rest of the NFL, but
Right. You'd have to have been paying attention. I find it a little criminal, slightly criminal, like jaywalking. Maybe a little more than jaywalking. Eating ice cream on the sidewalk, because by the way, that's illegal in Florida, in case you didn't know. That he didn't win at least 2 Defensive Players of the Week.
Right.
Right.
Well, he could have had, like, what was it, the one against the Giants game? Like, he could have had one then, except, like,
we didn't win.
They give it to the winning team. Like, you have to win, right? Like, like if you put Jameis's game, like, you take Jameis and his stats and you put it right up next to Jared Goff's in the same game. Like, Jared Goff pretty much had a better game, right? It's just Jameis won.
No, Jared Goff had 4 turnovers.
Fair enough. But I was thinking like he had the 500 yards
back
and all the touchdowns.
Back to the Giants game. We'll flip it. Back to the Giants game. Daniel Jones got it. But Jameis' stats are right there with him. Because he had 2 turnovers, Daniel Jones.
Right.
He counted for 4 touchdowns, ran for 2, threw for 2, but he had 2 fumbles. But he won the game.
Yeah.
Jameis had 1 interception, but threw for 3 touchdowns. Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
Was it 4?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the stats were right there, but they gave it to Daniel Jones. He wins. The one that stunk was Shaq Barrett, who got it for the
Panthers game, wasn't it?
Panthers game, and then went out and got 3 sacks in the Giants game, and he didn't get it. And then last week, he got an interception, a sack, a strip, a fumble, and a couple tackles for loss, and he didn't get it.
Right. But they gave him the month.
One. Yeah, but that's the one that stung. It was like, what? It's so anyway, but again, we're splitting hairs here. This is a nice problem to have.
Sure. Right.
I'm running out of shelf space to throw my award.
This is what we talk about when we win, Ren. All right. Speaking of that, okay, you kind of brought this up to me sort of in our little pre-show talk. I didn't get a chance to hear this, so tell me what you picked out of it. Casey Phillips on the Bruce Arians show had the sports science guys. We've heard a lot about this sports science department. Bruce Arians has talked about it. We've got a great sports science department. Sports science, sports science, sports science, sports science. I don't really know what they do outside of sports science. So, Ren, kind of, can you recap what they talked about, or did you pick up anything from listening to them and what they had going on there with the sports science department?
Yeah, sure.
And if you say sports science, I'm gonna no.
You're gonna what?
Oh, you missed it. I was going. For those of you listening, because this is an audio podcast, not a video podcast, I was giving Ren a fist like I was going to punch him through the camera here, but
And I am very afraid.
Yes.
This is also some things I've heard in bits and pieces, but she does this every week. Bruce, it's like an hour show. Bruce Arians on for 30 minutes, and then they have an assistant or somebody on, like a wide receivers coach, something like that on. Well, for the second half, they had two people who ended up being guys from the sports science department. The first one is English, and I don't know. There's certain dialects or accents of English, Irish, Scottish. If I'm not looking at them, I don't understand what you're saying for some reason.
Right.
Like, it's really hard for me to pick it up. Some of them, it's like it's clear as a bell. It doesn't matter, whatever. But some of them, the words sort of run together, and I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. So I really did have a hard time sort of understanding this guy. But here's what I got out of it. And this guy is sort of the data cruncher. Okay. He's the guy that takes the data and implements it. So, things that the Bucs will be doing is, of course, I think we've talked about it. They're going on Virgin Airlines where there's like 46 of these sleeper beds.
Okay.
So they'll be doing that, and they're getting special glasses that protect from blue light. I guess blue light on the plane doesn't let you sleep, or your brain reads it as it's not nighttime.
Okay.
So these glasses are supposed to take that away. But some of the more interesting things they're doing, they'll be wearing compression socks.
Right.
Promote blood flow. They have these little things that they attach to, on their legs where it's an electrical pulse. So while they're just sitting there laying down in their queen size beds on an airplane, this electrical pulse is tricking the brain and the muscles to thinking that they're working out. So when they get off the plane, their legs aren't like dead tired and, oh, whoa, I've been laying down for like 8 hours. This is weird.
Right.
The body thinks that they've just sort of done a low impact, like they've walked for, like 4 hours or something.
Right.
Like it feels like it's been a workout.
You know what that sounds like to me is, I don't know how long it's been since you've been in the hospital or had a hospital stay, but like if you're in the hospital for any amount of time, they'll come in and put these compression stockings on your legs or these compression things on your legs that while you're like laying in the hospital bed, that kind of it sounds like it's that same idea. It keeps stuff going. And you remember well, you wouldn't remember, actually, I don't know, Ren, maybe you do. Bruce Lee, he used to travel on airplanes, and he would have like or at least I don't know if this is actually fact or if this is just rumor, but he'd have like little like an electro, I'm going to say shock, but that's not the right word. I forget what the actual name of it is, but basically it's the thing where like you put a couple pads on your thing and you can run like electricity through your body, and it like helps flex your muscles or something. Like he would put those on his abs while he's flying in an airplane and basically get an ab workout, like just sitting on the airplane, like cause he'd be running, cause it'd be making his muscles twitch,
Yeah, it sounds about right. The funny thing is, like, you'll like see those on TV, like, hey, here's an ab workout. You don't have to do anything. It's a belt you wrap around your stomach, and it just sort of does that same thing, and then it's a body shot, and the guy rips it off, and he's had those abs because he eats clean and has been working on his body for 12 years. But hey, you look just the same with literally electropads, and they don't really last long. But then you got this $1 billion franchise of a team, and they're hiring a bunch of staff, and they're telling you, put these little electrodes on yourself to make yourself like you felt like you work out. So it was interesting to hear what he said, but it was hard to understand everything that he said, and he wasn't on very long. The second guy is actually a doctor, and he is more of the administrator type. Like he makes sure that, the people are in the right places to gather the data. He's overseeing the whole thing. And,
Okay.
and he'll poke his head in different areas to make sure everything's running efficiently, or he thinks he can improve on stuff, or maybe, information's not getting from point A to point C because there's a problem at point B, and he comes in and fixes that stuff. But his story was pretty cool because, it was very niche back when he started, and then Oregon hired him, the University of Oregon, because they wanted to start a sports science department. And he said that he would go to these places like these, colleges in the United States, like, like the Stanfords and the Cals and stuff. And he'd show up for these, or like, here's our sports science department. But they weren't. What they were sports science labs. They were scientists running experiments on just seeing, what the results are. There wasn't. So it was just trying to learn stuff. It wasn't taking what they've learned and putting it into practical use. So he had to go to Australia.
Wow.
Like apparently Australia rules football is they're really big into sports science.
Okay.
So that's where he went over there and sort of learned his craft, came back, brought it to Oregon. Then, professional teams started to get interested in it. I guess the NBA's been sort of ahead of the curve as far as the other sports things. And he was talking with them, and he said, voila, he just sort of ended up with the Buccaneers. And so it seems like it's a guy who knows what he's doing, and almost to the point where he sort of pioneered the sports lab practicality part. Like even having designed the building and all sort of that stuff and what they needed. So, the Buccaneers got one of the pioneers of this, at least as far as it is in the United States. So, I thought that was interesting. It was not a lot of conversation about this 7-week stretch with, 6 road games. It really was about, what the Bucs are going to do on this London trip to make them as fresh as possible when they're there.
All right. Interesting.
But you can find it on that. You can find it on the app, the Bruce Arians Show. Go listen to it, and maybe you can make a little more sense out of the second guy. Mm-hmm. Well, the first guy, the second guest in the show, of course, first one being Bruce Arians, than I could. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting to listen to.
I mean, that's I don't know. I find all that kind of stuff fascinating. I've got a small background in sports medicine, so that kind of I don't know. I always find that sort of stuff definitely neat. But man, the stuff they go through, I don't know. I don't know how. You've done a little bit of international travel recently, Ren. I've done a little bit in my days, and I don't know. You always go through this like, okay, I'm gonna sleep here, but I'm not gonna sleep here, so I can trick my body and get over jet lag, and this and that, and I eventually just got to a point where I just said, screw it, I'll just get on the plane, pop a couple sleeping pills and sleep while I'm there. Just kill the plane ride so I don't have to worry about it too much. And then when I get there, I'll just be jet lagged or not jet lagged. Whatever it comes is what'll come. Like, I just sort of submitted myself to however it goes. These guys are really fighting against it, man.
Yeah, that's how I, that's how I approach it too. It's like, ideally you have a plan,
Sure.
You know when you're going to land, and if you want to be like sort of wide awake and through the middle of your day,
Mm-hmm.
or are you really trying to sleep on the plane? And either way, it doesn't matter. And if I get to, like when we got to Rome, we were supposed to sleep on the plane because it was going to be early morning in Rome.
Right.
And we got to Rome and we got to our room and we were tired. So we took a 4-hour nap.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly, just traveling will wear you out, which is weird because you're not doing much, but it just does. All right. Let's move on with this. We've got 2 more headlines I want to talk about real quick. One, and this actually kind of looks forward to the injury report just a little bit. First one, JPP has come out to say that he has plans for being back week 8 versus Tennessee, although I guess I should clarify it wasn't really JPP himself. It was JPP's agent talking to TMZ. Says that he'll be back for week 8 versus Tennessee. Said he would actually be ready, Ren, by week 7, except that's our bye week. So it's not game 8, it's actually week 8, and it's the week we play Tennessee. So expecting to see JPP back that week.
That's going to be exciting. I'll believe it when I see it.
That's what I was just thinking. We have heard for years now from people saying, oh, yeah, so-and-so should be back. So-and-so, yeah, he's looking good. Yeah, he should be back. And then you look up 3 weeks past the time when they were supposed to be back, and they're still not back. And you're like, dude, what's going on?
Yeah, we haven't heard anything from JPP. We haven't seen him work out at all. All of a sudden now he's a free agent next year. And hey, his agent comes out and says, hey, he'll be ready. And he's like pitching a medicine ball,
Right.
It's like nothing. restructure your contract. You're a free agent next year. Hey, NFL, look how healthy I am.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that he's lying. I'm not. I would not. I mean, for Christ's sakes, he's missing half a hand. He had
he's
no
missing
problem
half a
coming
hand.
back
He's
from
broken
that.
his neck. He's still going to come back and play at a high level in the NF freaking L post 30 years old.
I believe he can do it, but but still, I'll believe it when I see it. And but it is exciting. It is exciting. Like, who do you sit?
Damone Harris.
No, I mean in the rotation.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Like whose snaps get taken?
Shaq Barrett's? No, Carl Nassib's? I mean, you gonna play 3 outside linebackers? Probably not.
Well, there is a little talk of that Shaq Barrett can play sort of an inside stand-up rusher.
Oh, really? Wow.
Where so basically he can play over the guard as a stand-up guy, and JPP plays outside him.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. And then the last headline that I have for this week, Ren, unless you have any others, Devin White is back after a grade 1 MCL sprain. He'll be back for the Louisiana game, for the New Orleans game. Really wouldn't care too much about which game he's coming back for, except a big deal's kind of been made about it because obviously he went to LSU there in Louisiana. He's got a lot of friends and family playing college ball, and he's excited to get back and to do it in Louisiana in front of all his friends and family. So, but Devin White's back. I think the big question that I have about this, and I think Bucs Nation as a whole has a question about this, is what do we do with Kevin Minter? Like, Kevin Minter has been playing pretty okay. Like, is there just that big of a difference between him and Devin White? I don't recall seeing that big of a difference when Devin White was the guy who was in there. So, what do we do? Still go with Devin White?
You said Kevin Minter.
Yeah.
Kevin Minter's at his ceiling.
Right.
And Devin White is a game and one because 5 quarters in his NFL career. And if you can't tell the difference between them, you go with the guy who's only played 5 quarters.
Right.
It's going to go up. And hey, I don't know if you heard, but I've had issues with the middle pass defense on this team.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
never mind.
Yeah.
No, don't go there.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that Kevin Minter and his speed will be able to negate these tight ends and maybe even some of these.
You mean Devin White and his speed?
Yeah. Who did I say?
Devin
Minter.
Yeah.
Oh, well, when Devin White will be able to get in there and sort of shore up that middle of the field, especially this game if Todd Bowles wants to sort of bring the safeties and just to sort of compress the whole defense. You know how you get down inside the red zone, it's harder to score because the defense is compressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like Todd Bowles might do that anywhere on the field, like act like the goal line's only 20 yards or the back of the end zone's only like 30 yards from the ball. Like, so it's got to be a fun chess match. I know I've talked about it once, talked about it again, but you sit Minter, man. Like, thank you very much for your service. You did great. I appreciate it. That's why you're here. That's why you're getting paid.
Yep. Now get out of the way.
Go sit over there and don't say.
we got our rookie.
Sit down and
you'll still get your
and
check.
Don't complain.
Right. All right. Well, that is going to do it for all the headlines we have, Ren. As we look towards the Saints game, let's take a look at the injury report and see what we have going on over there. First, with the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees is still out with his thumb. I'm not crying over that at all. Trey Hendrickson, you gave us a little spoiler earlier. He is also out. I think you said earlier he's their sack leader or something like that. Outside of that,
3.
everybody, with 3?
Just 3. Yeah.
That sounds so tiny, doesn't it?
I know.
Like Shaq Barrett has 9.
I know.
You're
And we would
3.
like the past 5 years, we've been ecstatic to have a guy with 3 sacks in 4 games.
Right.
And now we're like 3.
Whatever. Yeah.
Is he even trying?
Right.
God.
With that, other than that, the New Orleans Saints are very, very healthy. They have a few other guys, but nobody really worth mentioning. Cam Jordan, I guess, was out there, but he's full participation by Friday, so they'll be out there. All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the one that actually really matters.
That's it. Did I call it Cameron Wake? Cam Jordan. Hope I said it right. That's the guy I was talking about.
Yeah.
That dumped on Donovan Smith. Anyway.
So
please continue.
Jack Sitchie and Rashad Perriman both are out for the game. Right. Jack Sitchie with a dislocated elbow. Did you ever go back and watch the video to see that injury and see what that looked like?
I didn't go back to watch it.
Oh.
It popped up on my timeline.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't like, I gotta go see this.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh.
Yeah. He got Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah, that was not okay. But apparently all he did was dislocate it, and they say it's not a season-ending injury. They do expect him back. Kind of like the JPP, like I'll believe it when I see it, but that, for whatever they're saying right now, he should be back.
No, I'm more than believe when I see it because it's coming from the team.
Yeah.
The JPP thing, it's like,
but I mean, in the past, like think about Kendall Beckwith or even Justin Evans earlier this year. Yeah, he's getting close. Yeah, he's getting close. Yeah, he's getting close. All right, coach, when is it? When's he coming? And they just never did. Oh, well, he had a setback.
But they never put a week on it, though. They never put a week on it.
Well, they haven't put a week on Jack Sitchy yet either. So
2 to 4.
Is it 2? Oh, is that what they said? 2 to 4?
Yeah.
That was it. Oh, I missed that. Wow, that's it. 2 to 4 wow. Because his elbow went backwards. It looked like a giraffe's knee.
Sweep the leg.
And then Rashad Perriman, he is also out with that hamstring. This was interesting. Bruce Arians, in talking about this, said Perriman's hamstring has been an issue. Now, I wasn't really clear on what he was talking about when he was saying that. Like, has this been an ongoing issue with him with this hamstring thing? Are you aware of anything?
I know he got hurt like during OTAs, but I thought it's because he dove for a pass and landed on his shoulder. Maybe it was tweaked. I mean, he heard it like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I remember the play in the Rams game when he pulled up with the hamstring. Like you see it when it happened.
Okay, so it was just last week.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, it's a speedster, soft, leg, soft tissue injuries happen all the time. That's the problem with having the, these guys.
And these are those ones that
I don't know.
They take a long time to come back from with these hamstring injuries. A lot of times, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Sometimes.
Sean Jackson's out for the year.
With a hamstring or whatever? What's he got? Yeah.
That.
He's out for the year, really?
No. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Depends on how the Eagles do.
Oh.
If they start tanking, he'll be out for the year.
I don't wish bad on anybody, but that makes me a little happy to think about. All right. Moving off of that, though. So those are our two guys that are listed as out on our injury report. DeMar Dotson is listed as questionable. He did not participate on Wednesday or Friday in practice. He was limited on Thursday, and that could be they just had him running up and down the sideline, or they had him doing whatever limited means, but he didn't participate either of those other 2 days. So we'll see what happens. But questionable, I always remind people, questionable means likely to play. But he is listed as a game time decision. Shaquille Barrett, Jamel Dean, Chris Godwin, Ryan Jensen, Vita Vea, and Devin White, all listed on the injury report, all full participation by Friday. All are at least expected to play, although I think officially Jamel Dean and Devin White are still considered game time decisions, but they were full participation by Friday. So that is your injury report for week 5.
Who is the injury report brought to you by?
Brought to you by huntakiller.com. Go to huntakiller.com and use the code PewterCast at checkout and get 20% off your first box. Huntakiller.com. We'd like to thank them for sponsoring the PewterCast and bringing you the weekly injury report. Also, thank you, Greg Allman, whose Twitter feed I found this on. All right, Ren, with that, this is going to bring us down to everybody's favorite segment of the show, inactives.
Yeah, it is.
We need inactives, 7 of them for the week. Whatever you got. You've already got 2 in the bag. You got Jack Sitchy and Brashad Perriman. We need 5 more. Who you got?
Bailey, Harris, Hawkins, Hudson, and O'Connor.
You and I are down the line exactly on that. Zach Bailey, Gerald Hawkins, Tanner Hudson.
Though.
Do what?
Like, I can't see. I'm going to make you go first next time.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't trust you on this one. You had Ryan Smith on there.
No, I actually, literally, you can look back. I had Ryan Smith / Pat O'Connor with I don't know if Ryan Smith counts against the roster yet or not. If he doesn't, then I think it's Pat O'Connor. If he does count against the what I was saying was, I don't think Ryan Smith's playing this week. So I think they would sit him this week either way. I don't know with the exception if he counted, because I wasn't clear on that rule. So if he didn't count, then I was going to say Pat O'Connor.
I don't know.
So that's who I have. But other than that, I do. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Zach Bailey, Gerald Hawkins, Mr. Inactive for the year, Tanner Hudson, and Damone Harris.
All right.
Were my others. So.
Yep.
All right, Ren.
Yeah, this one's pretty easy. Like I'll be extremely shocked if it doesn't come out this way.
Right.
The only way it's going to screw it is if Dot doesn't go.
Or like Jamel Dean or someone like that.
That's the only possibility. Dean's going.
Yeah, I hope so, for sure. All right, Ren. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of the show. I'll give you a chance. Any words, anything maybe we haven't discussed, particularly as it relates to the Saints game coming up, anything you want to kind of throw out there, and then we'll go ahead and close out the show.
Sean Payton's a really smart coach, man, and he has not let Teddy Bridgewater throw the ball down the field. It looks like Dallas had a good game plan against him. Seattle probably had a good good game plan against him. Now, I don't know if it's because those defenses are pretty good, at least the upper half in the league. That's why the Saints couldn't score, or it's more of Bridgewater. A lot of people are saying Taysom Hill, their guy that can run, throw, block, catch, kick, punt, pass. He's the best water boy. He's the best looking guy. He's a scratch golfer. He modeled for the Heisman Trophy. He's an art collector. He's a salmonier. He's a cheese sniffer. World
Kudos for
sailor.
using the word salmonier or whatever that word is.
Salmonier.
Salmonier. Yeah, I can never say it right.
Actually, was the guy that introduced that little Swedish girl to the UN. Like he's done it all. So anyway, Taysom Hill. People are saying that he might be a factor. I'm a little hesitant, but I can also see it. Here's the thing, this is where the learning I guess like the beaten dog syndrome, where it's been, I've learned to have this response to a game where I think the Bucs should win, but hey, and it's even happened this year. It's like, hey, it's a rookie quarterback. We should win this game.
Right.
But then you see, well, the Bucs don't do against rookie quarterbacks. Everybody else does. The coaching staff does when they don't coach the Bucs.
Right.
So watching Teddy Bridgewater can't throw the ball 10 yards down the field. They don't let him throw the ball 10 yards down the field, and has scored one, maybe two offensive touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. Like, you're thinking, hey, this could really be a thing for the Bucs. But I can see this being the week where the run defense breaks down, because Alvin Kamara is that good. I can see where Teddy Bridgewater and Sean Payton come up with this. Well, Sean Payton comes up with this game plan, and Teddy Bridgewater execute it, where they throw deep ball. They take 2 or 3 shots per half, and if they hit on 2 of them, that's like 28 points. I can feel that happening. Like I can feel the joy rushing out of me as I say it right now. So us being taught and learned and Pavloved on that, it's
Pavloved, he says.
But I am refusing to give into it.
Good.
I think the Buccaneers are going to win. And I think that it's going to be a closer game than it actually is. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We look at the end of the game and it's like, oh, that was only 8-point game. But, really the Bucs were in control the whole time and probably had somewhere between 11 to 14-point lead for like 3/4 of the game.
All right. I'll go with you on that. I'm excited. I'm excited for this game. I am excited to see what our Buccaneers are going to do. I thought you had a great question earlier of, what Jameis Winston are we going to get? And you've kind of got me thinking about that now. Like I want to know. I'm curious to see what we do with that. Definitely want to see what Shaquille Barrett's going to pull out this week. Definitely interested in seeing Devin White and what's going to happen there. So it should be good. So, hey, listen, if you guys are listening to this and you're out in New Orleans, please give us a call on Sunday night at 10 o'clock. We are going to be going live on YouTube, Ren. We promise. Ren promises this week he's going to be happy, Ren, and we'll be out there.
No, I didn't say that. I said if we win, I'll be happy.
Oh, okay. What's this if stuff all of a sudden, Ren?
If you're holding my feet to the fire and going to state an absolute,
but anyway,
if you could assure me they're absolutely going to win, then I will assure you I absolutely will be happy.
All right, there you go. So you guys make sure you join us Sunday night, 10 o'clock, youtube.com/PeterCast. Phone lines will be open, and if you're in New Orleans, would love to hear from you if you went to the game. I know our friend Derek, who was on with us earlier this week, he is out there right now. Saw several Bucs fans actually talking about being on the flight heading out there to New Orleans. So shout out to you guys. You guys party hard, but party safe. And with that, Ren, why don't you tell the folks where they can get in touch with you on the internet?
The best way to find me is on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk some Buccaneers football. But if you don't want to put your, thoughts or hot takes out there in the Twitterverse, you can always slide in my DMs and I will talk Buccaneers football with you there as well. So, and I know if you're listening to this, there's a couple of people that have gone into my DMs, and it's been like 4 days since I've answered. I got like a handful of people. Sorry, everybody. I will do it tomorrow, I promise, and we'll talk some Bucs football probably when you're listening to this right now.
And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can find me at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And the show is at the Pewtercast on Twitter.com and on Facebook.com. You can also email us to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We will read those on a future episode of the podcast. And you guys can subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Podbean. Podbean, our number 2 biggest platform, Ren, is Podbean. There's also Podcast Addict, Google Play, Stitcher, Overcast, Jabbercast, iHeartRadio. Of course, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. Click the little bell icon to be notified when we go live. Really all the different places. And I did kind of teasingly mention it. Don't forget, huntakiller.com, 20% discount off that first box when you use the code Pewtercast at checkout. So, Ren, with that, there's nothing to it but to do it. It's now time for the Buccaneers game for us to buckle down and get it. Hey, 1 o'clock game. Woohoo for a 1 o'clock game finally. So here we go. I know.
God.
So here we go. 1 o'clock game, guys, on Sunday. And we'll talk to you guys then. And we'll certainly talk to you guys Sunday night. So until then, guys, we'll close the show out as always. Go Bucs.